Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Welcome to the summary lecture of Introduction to Management. Today we will discuss week number 14. In week number 14, we will discuss the fourth and last function of management, that is controlling. So as we know that we had four functions of management: planning, organizing, leading and controlling. We have studied all three functions, and now we are moving towards the fourth function of management, which is controlling. So students, controlling is a process where we evaluate the performance of employees and we decide whether we need to take any corrective action or we do not need any corrective action. So in order to do this, first of all we have to measure employees' performance. We measure employees' performance, then we evaluate with goals, and then we decide if the performance is not good, then we have to take corrective actions. If the performance is good and okay, then we do not need to take any corrective action. So as I have told you that there are three steps of controlling process. First of all, we have to measure the actual performance. We have to see the actual performance of the employee, and in order to see the actual performance, we have to understand how we measure and what do we measure. Four approaches used by managers to measure and report actual performance. There are four different ways to measure the performance. Number one, personal observations. Number two, statistical reports. Number three, oral reports, and number four, written reports. We will discuss these four criteria to measure the performance of employees. Okay, ji. First of all, let's start with first point, which is called personal observation. Personal observation means managers or the boss or the evaluator himself or HOD himself goes and he notices the performance of employee. So statistical report means we have different statistical models which we use to evaluate the performance of employees. Number three, oral reports. These oral reports are the reports of immediate supervisors, or it can be any member who can report to the boss or who can report to the evaluator. Written reports, we can write or we can make a report, we can make a record of the performances of employees, and at the end we can retrieve the informations. First of all, we will see the benefits and drawbacks of personal observation. If the HOD or if the evaluator wants to evaluate the performance himself, he wants to observe, he goes on site and he observes or he evaluates the performance. First of all, first hand knowledge is given, first benefit. Second benefit is that information is not filtered. If any other person gives you information, he may filter the information, he may change the information. So when you yourself go and you yourself see from your own eyes, it will not be filtered. Number three, intensive coverage of work. So we can cover the work intensively because boss is available at the job place and he is evaluating. There are some drawbacks. Number one drawback is subject to personal biases. If boss does not like anybody, he will not evaluate him good. If boss likes anybody, then he will evaluate him good even after the bad performance. Number two, time consuming. Boss has to spend so much time to evaluate. And number three, obtrusive. This is very obtrusive, and this will not allow employees to work because boss is standing in front of them, so they will have some reluctance, or they will be hesitant to perform duties. Number two, statistical report. The benefit of statistical report is easy to visualize. This is very easy to visualize since we have the reports, statistical reports in front of us, so we can evaluate or we can visualize the reports very easily. Effective for showing relationships, so we can show different relationships. And the drawbacks are: number one, provide limited information. We only get the information which is provided to us in the form of chart, or in the form of any diagram, or in the form of any report. So we do not have the backend information. This is the drawback. Number two, ignore subjective matter. Here we just focus on the reports, we ignore the subject matter. Number three, oral report. In oral report, the first benefit is that it is a very fast way to get information. And number two, oral and verbal and all allow for verbal and non-verbal feedback. So in this regard, we can get verbal non-verbal feedback from anyone we have sent to get we have assigned to get information. Number two, information is filtered. As we have seen that if I go to evaluate my boys, my information will not be filtered. If I send ABC to get information, he will definitely filter the information. Number two, information cannot be documented. So this oral report cannot be documented. And last, written reports. So in written reports, we can see that these are comprehensive, these are formal, these are very easy to file and retrieve. We can write the records and we can file the records, and after many times if we want to retrieve, we can retrieve. On the other hand, what are the drawbacks? The first drawback of this is that it takes too much time to prepare these reports, because the documentation and proper recording and documentation takes much long time. So first step of controlling process was first to measure the performance, and we had studied 4 different ways to evaluate the performance. Now we have to see that whether the performance we have evaluated meets the standard or not. Standards are the goals which we set in the beginning. For example, standard is that Mr. ABC has to sell 30 devices in 1 month. Okay, after 1 month, we will see the actual performance. The actual performance is that he has sold 20 devices. So this is the actual performance we have measured, and now we will evaluate, or we will compare this with standard, or the goal that we have already set for him, that he had to sell 30 but he has sold only 20. So there is a difference of 10. So this 10 difference is variation from actual performance, or variation of actual performance with goal or standard performance. So now, since his performance is not up to the mark, then we will go to the third step, where we have to improve his performance and we have to take corrective actions. So students, second step is to evaluate the performance against the standard. Against the standard is also called the goal, or standard is also called expected performance or performance expectation. Okay, so now we have to see the range. Students, what is the range? For example, if the standard was 30 and the performance of employee was 28, so there was difference of 2. So difference of 2 is not a very major difference, then we can say that yes, 2 is acceptable. So this is the range which is acceptable. But if there is the performance, if the performance is 25, then there is the difference of 5. So 5 is something which is not acceptable, or which is this is the range which is not acceptable. So this is written here. For example, this is the standard. If the performance is the same, for example, expected performance of standard is 30, this is acceptable. But if the performance is 28, then it is also acceptable. But if it goes beyond 27 or 27 or 26 or 25, no, this is now not acceptable. So green earth gardening supply June sales. So we have a chart of sales of June, which mentions that there are different plants and flowers and seeds and bushes which they sale. So they have mentioned the sales of June. So the standard means the goal of vegetable plants was 1075, perennial flowers 630, annual flowers 800, herbs 160, 170, 220, 540, and the total expected flowers to be sold is 3600. And at the end, if we see the actual sale is 3707, and the difference is 177. So actual performance was more than the expected performance. So this was very good performance. But if there is difference, or the actual performance is less than the expected performance, then we will go to the third step, which means taking corrective actions. Students, in taking the corrective actions, we may say that we have sometimes there is the flaws of the performance of employee, so we have to improve the performance of employee. On the other hand, sometimes the performance of employee is not bad, or the efforts put by the employee is very good, excellent, but we have to revise the standard. For example, if we set 30 devices to be sold in 1 month, so this was not an adequate goal, so we may say that he should go for 20 devices per month. So we will revise the standard, or we will revise the goal, because selling 30 devices was a very difficult task we have given. So we will revise the standard, and after revising the standard, then we will see again the performance. So these are two things which we do in corrective actions. Number one, we correct the actual performance of employees, and in order to correct the performance, we can give them training, development, we can use motivation, and we can use some threats or coercive power to improve the performance. So these are the measures we can take to improve the performance. But sometimes we do not need to improve the performance, we have to see our standard or our rules, regulations. Sometimes we need to improve our rules, or we have to revise our standards, so the performance can be improved. So let's move to the next topic. Managerial decision in controlling process. What is organizational performance? First of all, we have to see what is performance. Organizational performance is basically the accumulated result of all organizations' work activities. When an organization is performing, or there are different departments and different functions in the organization, and we accumulate means we gather all the performances of different organizational activities, and we join them, we accumulate them, and then we will say that this is the performance of organization. Number two, there is a point which is called organizational productivity. Organizational productivity is basically the amount of goods and services produced by divided by input needed to generate the output. Productivity means the amount of total goods produced. It means what input we put, and after using the input or after using the resources, what output we have produced. After using the input, the output we have produced is called the productivity. Number three, organizational effectiveness. Organizational effectiveness means when organization decides some goals, and if organization's goals are met, it means organization is effective. We have to see whether the organizational goals are met, organization is effective. Now, industry and company ranking, this is also very much important. In industry, there may be more than one organization, there may be 5, 6, 7 or 8 organization, and we have to see where is the standing of our company. Also our company, if our company is at number 1, number 2, number 3, so this will be the ranking. For instance, Fortune's best companies to work for are chosen by answer given by thousands of randomly selected employees on question called Great Place to Work, Trust Index, and on material filed out by thousands of companies managers, including corporate culture audit created by the Great Place to Work Institute. So these are different organizations which basically find out the ranking of the organization, and we have seen different organizations, different websites having the ranking of the organizations. So here we have Fortune 500, here we see Industry Week, we have Customer Satisfaction Index, we have Best Business Business Week, or we have Forbes. So these are all the organizations which tell us about the ranking of the organization. So let's move to our last topic of controlling. So last topic is types of control. Students, there are 3 types of control. Number 1, feed forward control. Number 2, concurrent control. Number 3, feedback control. If we want to control, we first of all we will understand feed forward control. If we want to control our activities, so we have to be proactive. Students, there are 2 approaches. Number 1, proactive. Number 2, reactive. Reactive means when any incident has happened, and after that we will take decision, we will make corrections. But feed forward control means we will predict or we will forecast the problem early, and we will try to solve the problem before time. Let's take an instance. For instance, when McDonald's opened the first restaurant in Moscow in Russia, it sent company quality experts to help Russian farmers to learn technique to grow high quality potato, and help bakers to learn the process for baking high quality breads. It means when McDonald's went to Russia, first of all they wanted good quality potato for the chips, and they wanted good quality buns and breads for their burgers. So first they sent their team to Russia to help farmers to grow quality potatoes and to help bakers to produce good buns. It means they did not open McDonald's before they have clarified or they have taught and guided Russian farmers and bakers to make or to cultivate or to produce potatoes and buns. So this is called proactive approach, where before any problem we anticipate, we predict, and after that we try to find the solutions. Number two, concurrent. Concurrent means when a problem is being when a problem is going on or any issue is going on and we try to find the solution. And the example would be Nvidia. Nvidia CEO Jen Soon Hong tore down his cubicle and replaced it with a conference table, so he is available for employees all the time to discuss what is going on. It means we need to take runtime decisions, and when we need to take runtime decisions, then CEO of Nvidia, Mr. John Hoon Hong, he tore down his cubicle and he made a conference table like room when everyone wants to come and wants to get guidance, so he is available to guide everyone on the spot. So this is called real time, runtime, or live decisions. We are not waiting for any issue to happen, or we are not anticipating it in the beginning. Feedback control is also called reactive approach. Reactive approach means a problem has happened, okay, an activity is done, and after activity is done or after the problem has happened, now we are supposed to find the solution. And here is the example of Denver Mint, who discovered the flawed Wisconsin quarter using feedback control. The damage had already occurred, even though the organization corrected the problem once it was discovered. So here the damage was done, here the problem was occurred, and after that they tried to find the solution. So there were three types of controls. Number one, feed forward control, which is anticipated. Concurrent control, which is taking runtime or real time or live decisions. And number three, feedback, when the problem has occurred, then we will find the solution. So this was all from week number 14. Students, we will inshallah meet you again with week number 15. Till then, Khuda Hafiz.